All right, so I want to apologize for the abrupt cancel last week, but I had a work emergency that couldn't wait, which usually is not the case on Fridays, but it happened, and so I apologize. Hopefully it will never happen again. The second week of the month is always the busiest at work, and just the way that the month fell. I handed in my financials on Thursday and there were a lot of questions on Friday. So I ended up somebody wanted to have a meeting at 1 o'clock and I was like, okay.
This is fine.
So I apologize. And I've never done that before. So
I'm just going to be
hopefully it'll never
listening.
happen.
I am just going to be listening.
Okay, I'll mute you. Okay. Any questions from the last thing we reviewed was the Friday night Kiddush and the Friday night structure? Any questions about Kiddush, Kaddish, Aliyah, the blessings for going up to the Torah, any of that stuff? No questions. Okay, good. And you had so many weeks to review it. So good. All right, so today I sent out an email with a document, but I'm going to flash it up on the screen. We're going to start preparing for Passover. And so what I did was I went on to openseadoor.com and pulled off some of the blessings, because as you see from some of my the other two documents, I actually scanned a Haggadah that I use, which I like because it has big writing in it. It's the old Behrman House Haggadah, and it comes out a little grainy. So I pulled this off, made a document, and I figured we would just start going over this. So we'll go back to the very beginning, and some of this stuff you might know. If you know, we'll just skip over it real quick. But the word Seder means order. And there is an order to the Seder. That should probably be on here. Let me see if I can find the text for that. Give me 1 second. Here we go. English Haggadah with text. Okay. I'd rather have it in Hebrew Haggadah. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so this is not ideal. We should have both English and Hebrew with it, but it doesn't. Let me grab it. And then we'll look at it. Well, I have it in English. It actually looks much better in English, but okay. So the steps of the Seder. Let me make this a little bigger. How do I zoom in on this? Zoom. Okay, can we see that?
Yes.
I think if I make it bigger, it will blur a little more. So it's Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Magid, Rachza, Motzi, Matzah, Maror, Korech, Shulchan Orech, Tzafun, Barech, Halel, Nirtzah. And those are that is the order that the Seder goes in. So let me do a new share here and share this. This is the English part. So it gives you the transliteration here. Kadesh is the Kiddush for cup 1 of wine. Urchatz is washing your hands. And if you've been to a traditional Seder, if you have a traditional Seder, usually because we do two washings. Here's another one, a washing. The first urchatz is just a symbolic washing. So we don't do what we might do before a meal where we spill the water on our hands 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
we're just here. We actually sometimes just send a bowl and a pitcher around the table and people just wet their fingertips. But you still say the whole bracha for washing your hands. Karpas, which is eating of the vegetable, which we dip in salt water. Yachatz, breaking the middle matzah. Magid, telling the Passover story. And that's where you can make your Seder longer or shorter, depending on what you're telling, how you're telling, and all of that. Rachza, that's now again, washing your hands again. This time, everybody at the Seder table gets up, goes over to the sink, and and spills the water over their hands 3 times and says the blessing. And then we say motzi, the blessing over bread, and then we eat matzah, because we don't actually eat bread, we eat the matzah.
Right.
Then we taste the bitter herbs, maror, korech, which is the bitter herbs and the charoset together in a sandwich.
Mhm.
Shulchan orech, which is dinner. Safun, we find and eat the afikomen. Barech, which is doing the grace after meals. Hallel, which is with the Hallel service, and Nirtzah, conclusion. And Hallel and Nirtzah are just a bunch of songs. And some people, will only go to the Shulchan Orech and find the Afikomen and they're done. And they don't do the last 3 parts of the service, which actually they don't add that much to the service, maybe like 40 minutes or so. It's Magid that can go on forever. And it's actually a mitzvah. It says in the Sidur that you should tell the story of Passover until midnight, which is, a lot. But so what I prepared here was, I think, the blessings that we're doing, other than Kiddush, the blessings, so that you can follow along in the Haggadah. So let me go back to the Hebrew here. And there's a neat little song that goes along with the order of the Seder. And when my kids were younger, we would sing the song before the Seder started. And then every time we got to another part of it, we would sing up until that part, right?
Mhm.
So the song is Kadesh Uchatz Karpas Yachatz Magid Rachza Motzi Matzah Maror Korech Shulchan Orech Tzafun Barech Halel Nirtzah. So if we were on Karpas, we would sing Kadesh Uchatz Karpas, and then we would do the Karpas. And I kind of gave the kids a little, and I do believe in the theory that Passover is for the kids, right? We're trying to teach our next generation our story
Absolutely.
of coming out of Egypt, right? So, and as a matter of fact, I sent my kids to Jewish day school. And so there was a gentleman who I go to synagogue with. He's actually the editor of the Jewish Week. His name is Andrew Silo Carroll. And I just mentioned his name only so I can give him the credit for saying this. He said, Passover is the festival of our tuition dollars. Like, Passover's the time where you get the kids around the table and all of a sudden they're reading Hebrew and all of a sudden they're telling you what they learned in Hebrew school or whatever about the holiday, and the grandparents get to kvel and the parents are like, ooh, they're actually learning something. And so Passover is the festival of our tuition dollars, however we spend those dollars.
But using music really is a benefit. It just stays with them. Absolutely stays with them. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. When my son was in high school and he had a teacher that wanted them to memorize all the digits of pi, like they had a contest or whatever. And he and his friend came up with a song so that they could remember. I don't even remember how it went or what it was, but to do it, or learning the bones of the body or learning whatever. If you do it in song, it's so much easier, right? So anything to keep the kids entertained. Okay, so let's read this blessing again. Very easy. Baruch atah Adonai
Adonai,
Eloheinu
Eloheinu,
melech
melech
haolam
haolam,
borei
peri
pri
hagadol,
ha'adama. So same as Kiddush,
ha'adama,
right? But instead of
yes,
hagafen, it's ha'adama,
ha'adama, okay,
right?
ha'adama, yes,
And you see in the English here, creator of the fruit of the earth. Whereas in Kiddush, it's creator of the fruit of the vine, right? So that's the difference. And I'll tell you a little thing we started a few years ago that really helped get us through the traditional Seder, right? So we could do all of this because everybody sits down and there is a comedian, his name is Sebastian Maniscalco. And he's got this routine about, you've heard this, have you heard him do this, Jamie? He has this routine about going to his girl, he's dating a Jewish girl, he's Italian, he's dating a Jewish girl, and he's going to their house for Seder. And so he's very excited to go. He, heard that it's a nice dinner, whatever, he can't wait. And he's like, we sit down at the table and they start passing out books. And I'm like, you're passing out books? Can we have a little bread and some oil to dip in while we're waiting for the thing? And they tell him there is no bread. And then finally, like, the food comes and they're like, here's a hard-boiled egg and matzah. He's like, a hard-boiled egg and matzah? Where's the pasta course? Like, he does this whole thing. It's hilarious. If I could find it, I will, I'll share the link with you. It's absolutely hilarious. And he basically says at the end, all right, Jews, you could do bagels and lox, but the rest of the food, just leave to the Italians. We've got this covered. So anyway, so we're sitting down and we're starving, right? Like, we can't wait. I mean, in our Haggadah, it's page 27, and we can't wait to get to page 27 so that we can have the food. So a few years ago, I saw somebody did this, and I wish I knew who it was so I could give them credit. But when you have karpas, dipping the karpas in the salt water, I actually go to the supermarket and I buy every green vegetable that I see out there. And in the years that I've done this, I've actually learned a lot about okra and all these other vegetables that I never really use. I buy every green vegetable I can, and I make, I actually have one of these things that I bought at the discount store that has like, it's like 4 little cups, but it's attached together
mhm,
for like dips. And I make different kinds of dips, spicy dips, sweet dips, savory dips, whatever. And I put them out. And so after we do the karpas, we put out these platters and say, now dip and eat all these vegetables. And so while we go on with the rest of the service, the Seder part before the meal, everybody's eating and munching and, kind of getting to all the vegetables, which is kind of nice because then they're not complaining, when are we eating? And it works very well for the kids and for the grownups that are, there just because they have to, they're obligated to be there, but they don't want to be there. So I'm going to pass that along to you as a nice little tradition. Okay. So once we do all of the blessings that go with the matzah and the maror and the charoset, and we get into the Magid part, right? The telling of the story. These are the 10, we talk about the 10 plagues. And so I wanted you to learn the names of them in Hebrew. I thought that would be beneficial so that when you are, I don't know how you do it at your Seder, and our Seder, we say it dam, blood, Tzfardea, frogs, and we do each one in Hebrew and English. So if you do that, then you'll have it and you'll be able to read it. So who wants to read? Well, I'm just going to go around the room. If you want to pass, just say pass. Geraldine, since you're in my first box, because you came on, early, I'm going to let
yes,
you read the first line here.
okay. Alu, alu, esre, alu esre, makot.
Good. Elu, Eser, Makot. These are the
Elu.
10 plagues. Judy Schwartz. You know what? I'm going to read it first, and then Judy, I'll let you read it. Shehevi Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Your turn, Judy. You're muted.
Shekavi Akadosh Baruch Hu.
Yep, that's Shehevi,
Shechavi.
right? It's a hey. Okay. Next line. Al Hamitzrim Bemitzrayim. Anne, you want to take that one? You're muted also.
Sure. Okay. Al Hamitzrim B'Mitzrayim.
Perfect. Ve'elu Hain. Debbie, do you want to read?
Ve'elu, ve'elu, him,
Hain. Yep.
hain, snakes. I keep forgetting snake eyes.
Good, good. All right. Dom, Jamie, Svardea, Judith,
Svardea.
Kineem, Geraldine,
Kimeen,
Kineem.
Kimim,
Yep.
lice.
Arov, Judy,
Arov.
Dever, Ann,
Dever.
Shchin, Debbie,
Him,
Barad, Jamie,
Barat.
Arbet, Judith,
Sorry, where are you pointing? Okay, Arbe.
Choshech, Geraldine,
Hoshech,
and Makat Bechorot, Judy.
Market Bar Bekurot.
Bechorot, right.
Yehorot.
Yep. Rabbi Judah had an acronym for them. And so if you look at the first letter of each of the plagues, Daled, Sadiq, Kaf, Detzach, and then the next three, Ain, Daled, Shin, Adash, and the last four, Barad, Arbe, Choshech, and then they say Bechorot, not the Makat, because Makah means plague. Bechorot, so Be'achav,
Be'acha.
right? So
Be'achav.
Detzach, Adash, Be'achav. And that's how he remembered which plagues came first, which plagues came second, that sort of thing. Having that acronym there. Okay. So this is part of the Seder. The part of the Seder now is we're getting, when we get to the 10 plagues, we know we're close to dinner, right? Because all we're going to do is wash our hands, eat matzah, eat this, eat that, and then we're going to get on with it. So, any questions on the 10 commandments before we go on? No questions. Okay, good. Good. There's a great Christian liturgy that talks about the 10 plagues and how there's a scientific explanation for the plagues, and it's a Christian resource. So it's devoid of the God part of it all, but it talks about how in a certain time 2,000 years ago, there's evidence that it was so hot that the red algae wasn't able to grow in the water, and it made the Nile red.
Oh,
And because of whatever chemical was released from the algae into the water, the frogs couldn't live in the water, so they jumped out of the water. And because there were so many frogs on the land, lice, had developed and had nowhere to go other than into people, and so on and so on and so on. And they explain, and I can find the article too, but like I said, it's a Christian resource. It's devoid of the God part of it all. And I always say that the God part of it is that it only affected the Egyptians. It didn't affect the Jews. And so how could that be if God didn't have any involvement in it, right?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
but for those of us who always try to find like, well, how did that really happen? This could be an explanation. The death of the firstborn, when in the olden times, right, when food was distributed, it was always distributed to the firstborn first. He got to choose his, and then so on and so forth. And so, because there was hail and locusts and darkness, which didn't let the hay or the produce or whatever they were eating dry out, then there was some sort of a mold or something that grew on the top of these piles of produce. So when the firstborn went to get them, they're the ones that got sick and died, and not the other children in the family who got them from the healthier part of the pile of produce. So I just thought it was interesting, and taken with a grain of salt, so to speak. Okay, so moving on. Maror, eating the bitter herb. So remember, did we talk about, maybe we didn't. Did we talk about when does a blessing have just Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, and when does it have Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav in it?
No.
Right, so see these words right here that I'm circling, Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav. So when we said the blessing on the karpas, it was Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, Borei Pri Ha'adama, Borei Pri Hagafen. When we say when we say this for eating maror, or when we say the blessing for washing the hands, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu, al whatever, al netilat tzitzit, when you put on your tzitzis, your talis, al likboa mezuzah, to put up a mezuzah. So Asher Kidashnu, Asher Kidshanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu, these three words in this one here, means you sanctified us with your commanded us, right? So these are commandments and mitzvot, as opposed to just doing it from your own volition, right? We're not commanded to eat an apple. So when we do, we say this blessing. We are commanded to put a mezuzah on our house. We are commanded to wear a talit. So that is why we have some blessings have Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu, and some don't. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I hope you guys wondered that at some point in your life.
Well, most people mess up and they add it in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes that happens, and then you have to say, well, do we have to say the whole thing over? Do we just add it in? What do we do? Okay. So this is Asher Kiddushanu Mitzvotav V'tzivanu al achilat maror. Upon achilat, the eating of maror, the bitter herb. All right, on to the next one. So this is the Hillel sandwich. So this is not a blessing. This is just kind of saying, right? And this is kind of passed down as what it says here, like to fulfill literally that is written in the scripture, they shall eat the Passover offering with matzah and maror. So someone in the times of the Talmud went back and said, wait a minute, I think we need to eat, we need to eat this sacrifice with matzah and maror. So we better add this in somehow. So do you eat, you have in the Talmudic times, all of these arguments between Hillel and Shammai and how they do things. And that's why we like Hanukkah candles from left to right and why we do this and why we do that. And this is another one. There's a big debate that took place on, do we eat the maror and matzah with the offering, like as a sandwich, like as a brisket sandwich with the maror on it? What do we do? And so they came up with this solution that we're going to have a sandwich with matzah, maror inside, and eat them together. And so this is what we say. And so we'll do this line by line also. Zecher lemikdash kehilel. Anne, I think you're up. I think it's your turn.
Okay. Zecher lemikdash kahilel.
Yep. Cain asa Hillel. Debbie?
Cain, Asa, Hillel.
Perfect. Bazman shebeit hamikdash kayam. Jamie?
Basman, Shebeit, Hamikdash, Kayam.
Haya korech. Judith?
Haya korech.
Okay. Geraldine, you're going to take the next 3 lines. Pesach, matzah, umaror.
Pesach, matzah, and umaor.
Umaror. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, umaror.
Yeah.
Yes, umaror.
That's fine. Ve'ochel beyachad. Judy?
Vehu, say that again.
Ve'ochel
Ve'okel,
beyachad
beyachad,
lekayem ma shene'emar. And
I'm sorry, I lost where we were.
it's okay. Second to last line here. Lekayem
Second time, okay. Let Hayam Ma Mar
Yep. Al
Al. Okay, go ahead.
matzot umerorim yachluhu. Debbie?
All ma
Matzot.
so
Mhm.
okay, all matzot, um um umro
Mem,
reem
mem.
Mhm.
ich la who.
Yep. That last is yoch lu hu. It's a hard one. It's a long one.
Oh, yoke. Oh, there's like extra lines in here.
Right,
Like,
so I'm gonna.
there's this
bring this up.
slanted
this
lines.
extra line here. Remember I said that there's some, for grammatical reasons, they want you to pronounce the lamed as the primary letter, right? As its primary
Oh,
syllable. So
right.
it's yochluhu. Like they want
Okay.
you to emphasize that,
Lu-
and that's why you have the
luhu.
line.
Okay.
Just like up here, you see the dot in the middle of the yud. That's another one, kayam. They want you
Okay.
to pronounce that, to put the emphasis on that syllable.
And the word before the ro reem. Okay. The
Now, I
reem
don't
would
know
be
what this line
emphasized.
is. This almost looks like, these 2 lines here look like trope lines, like when you read Torah. I don't know why they're there.
Oh, okay.
I tried to, like I said, I tried to get the cleanest copy I could of these. So I'll have to go in and put a little white box on them.
But
And
that would be like another example. You'd emphasize the ream.
yes,
Okay,
yes. Al
That makes sense.
matzot umerorim yachluhu. Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Okay. Any questions about this? I feel like we're doing like a lot of little minis, but I want to give you a good piece. We'll come back to this when we're done with the other stuff. This is Sfirat HaOmer. So well, let's just go over it now. It's fine. So in between Passover and Shavuot, there's 7 weeks, right?
Mhm.
Exactly 7 weeks. And every night we count those days. Okay. So spiritually speaking, if you're looking for a new ritual or for something to do to be able to count, you want to count your blessings, you want to count good things in your life, you want to take on a new habit every day, a new like mini habit every day or something like that. The Omer is a really good time to do it because you can count, right? So it's kind of like the Christians will count to Christmas in their Advent calendar. You're counting to Shavuot. You're counting 49 days, which is the number of days in between the time we left Egypt and the time we got the Torah from Mount Sinai. So spiritually, it's a nice little thing to do, to be able to, and even if you just count, it's a nice thing to do. And so at the second Seder, it would be the first night of the Omer. And so some people do that. So I'm going to save it for next week, but we'll go over that. And it's interesting when they say they do the Asher Kishanu Sotavet Sivano al Sfirata Omer. God commanded us to count the Omer. We say today is the first day of the Omer. And we say today is the second day and the third day and the fourth day. When we get to the 8th day, we say today is the 8th day of the Omer, 1 week and 1 day of the Omer. So we actually count up the weeks as well as we're going. And it's kind of nice to count to 50 and you actually count 49. You don't count the 50th because it is the holiday of Shavuot and all of that. So I think that's all we're going to do today. I don't want to overload you. Any questions on anything we did today? No. Okay, good. Good. It is pretty straightforward. And if you host Pesach and you have a Haggadah, pull it out, try to find these things in your Haggadah. If you need help finding it, let me know and I'll FaceTime and or Zoom and figure out, where it is for you so you can look at your Haggadah. And so I'm just going to go over, we will do Sfirat HaOmer, but I'll probably save that for the end. We're going to go through we're going to first go through Avadim Hayinu, which is this song here. I'm going to share my screen again, just to show you what we're doing. We're going to go through the smaller print at the bottom here, the Avadim Hayinu. And we're just going to go through like the song and that sort of thing. We'll go through a little bit of the English text. We'll talk about it a little bit. And then we'll go through the 4 sons. I like to be able to if it's something you wanted to do, it starts here on line 13. If your Seder's in Hebrew and you wanted to, this is something nice. You can ask the leader of the Seder, hey, I'd love to read these, the wise son, which is 3 lines. Or if you want to challenge yourself and read the wicked son, it's 4 lines. If this will let me, there we go. The simple son is 2 lines. And the one that does not know how to ask is actually pretty long. But it's, again, it's total, everybody's individual. So again, I don't know how you want to take this Hebrew piece for your Seder this year. but I definitely want to help enhance it for you so that you feel better about attending your Seder this year or somebody else's Seder or wherever you're going or doing. So email me, let me know if there's anything else you want to cover, any of the songs in the back of the book. Chad Gadya is actually written in Aramaic, so I'm happy to do it, but it's not easy Hebrew. It's written in Hebrew, but it's Aramaic. But any of the other songs you want to do it in the back of the Haggadah, I almost said Siddur, I can copy those and record those as well. So yes, Debbie.
My brothers-in-law used to do Had Gadya, and they would start, normally, and by the end they're banging the table and they're yelling, and the kids are all getting involved, but they would gradually make it louder and louder and
Right, it's
noisier
fun.
and noisier.
So I'm going to tell you
So
something about Chad Gadya. Chad Gadya. So my parents are Israeli, and my mother had, they came here before I was born, so they've been here over 50 years now. Actually, my father's passed, so my mother's been here over 50 years now. But growing up, my mother would we would do the Seder entirely in Hebrew, and we would have guests that didn't understand Hebrew. So every once in a while, my mother would stop my father and would, say, let's do this part in English. Let's do this part in English. And so when it came to the songs at the end, we all had learned them in Hebrew school or day school or whatever in English as well. So we would do them in Hebrew and then in English. So our Seder would really run very long because we grew up doing them in both languages and everybody wanted to do them in both languages. So Chad Gadya has this little goat my father bought for 2 zuzim, and then it talks about this one came and slaughtered the ox that quenched the fire, right? And all of these things, and you keep going on. So there's one phrase in there that says that beat the dog that bit the cat.
Yep.
Right. Well, when my mother says it in a Hebrew accent, it sounds the same. I have to do it. That bit the dog that bit the cat. That's what she says. And so we all, like, from very young age, thought it was the funniest thing ever. So now, I'm the oldest of 4. I'm 51. My youngest sibling's 45. And the grandkids are, 22, 21, all the way down to 4 years old. And they're always like, okay, Safta, your turn. And then everybody gets very quiet so she could do it all by herself so we could laugh at her. And she hates it. She does it for us, which is very nice of her. So that's my story. So email me if there's anything else you guys want to do. Like I said, I want to make it your Seder. I want you to enhance your Seder. So, all right.
Mhm.
All right. I'll see you next week. I'm going to send out, I think I have the recordings for this page. Oh, maybe I don't, but I'll make the recordings for this page over the weekend so that you guys have it. Okay. So look for that Sunday or Monday. Yes. Debbie.
there was one email that said you were going to, that I missed. It was a couple weeks ago, and you said you would be putting the readings out on Monday. I never saw them.
Tell me which readings they were, and I will forward them.
Yeah,
to
I can
you.
email them. Yeah, I can email them. I can forward you, from the email.
Okay, tell me which they were, and I am happy to send that over.
That would be great. Thanks.
Yes.
Do you
Okay.
have recommendations for some of the songs that we could learn, like, that are kind of more, manageable?
I mean, Echad Mi Yodea is a good one, and any of the songs in Hallel are always, nice to learn. If again, but I want to know what you guys do so that it's useful for you. So, if you go on to either Open Siddur or just write, free Siddur online, go through. If you don't have one in your house, go through it and be like, oh yeah, this is something they say in Hebrew. This is something they saying. I'd like to do it. And I'm happy to review it. I put aside, I think, 3 or 4 classes. And as you can see, we're already through 1 document. So I really only have 1 more class worth of material to do. And I'll come up with stuff, but I want it to be from you guys. So So take a look, like I said, either online if you don't have a Seder at home. And look at the back, look at the songs, see if there's something you want. So
We have
last
the-
year in my class, it was so sweet. There was a woman, she's 84, and she said, I want to learn Manishtana. She said, my granddaughter's 4, and she wants me to sing it with her.
Oh,
And so she learned it, and her granddaughter learned it. And I'm like crying thinking about it. And they did it together at the Seder. And she sent me the video. She's like, this is the video. This is, everybody took the video. And, the woman's 84 years old, like how much longer, like 10
Yeah.
years, 15 years, like God bless. But that's something that they'll always have. So I thought that was very sweet.
absolutely. The little one has a memory for life, for sure.
Right. So, all righty, ladies, have a great afternoon. Shabbat
Thank you,
shalom.
Lymor.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Next week.
Shabbat shalom.
Hi, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.